What's up guys, Kyle from Berkshire Worms. We're filling up 2 of our compost bins today. What makes our compost bins a little bit different from other folks is the aeration we have in the bottom. So they're pretty much the same. It's just that one I didn't have any fittings for. This one I did have fittings for. So this is a nice clean, air comes in, all 4 corners, meets in the middle, and goes up, or allows the heat to come out through and the cold air to come up. It'll create just sort of a convection pattern that'll allow our compost to heat up better and more efficiently and stay hot once it gets hot. This one's pretty similar. It's just a few pipes laying down. They have holes in them, and I just want to protect against critters getting in. So any opening that's not covered by the chicken wire got covered with 1/4-inch hardware cloth. Anything below where our aeration starts, so in this area, we're not going to count on that getting hot, so we won't count on that for usable compost. What we want to do is fill this space in with a lot of real dry brown material, stuff that's breathable. We don't want to just pack dirt in here and plug up our air holes right away. So I have some brown stuff that's been sitting for about 2 years now. So it doesn't have too much more left to break down. So that's when I'm going to fill this space in. And then we'll start filling up our compost pile. There's going to be 2 main concepts to today's video. The first, with building a compost pile, think of it more like building a fire. That's helped me visualize what I need to do from the bottom up to build a good compost pile. We're building a slow bake oven. One of my favorite materials is this bamboo stuff. Brings me to the second theme of today. Tubes. We have tubes in the bottom for airflow, and we're adding tubes to our compost pile for airflow. So with the bamboo, this is going to allow a ton of airflow all the way through our pile. So we have the dead dry stuff, and then we have the stuff I just cut down today. It breaks down pretty quickly, pretty easily, and it's just an awesome bulking agent for your compost pile. So look for similar items, stuff that's stalky. I've heard of people using corn. I've never tried corn stalks because I don't have access to it, but I've heard corn can work for this, but stocky's good, maximizes airflow. Just think tubes. So this bottom layer is kind of our, I don't want to say throwaway layer, but not a layer I'm planning on using in the compost. This should really compact down around our air system pretty well, but allow it to breathe. That's what we really want. We don't want a ton of real tight clay-like material or something that's going to really prevent airflow from coming up from the bottom. The purpose of this compost pile is a little different than most as well. We're not just trying to break yard waste down. We've been saving our root masses and flats that we grow our microgreens in. And I'll show you. In this bin down here, so for the last couple months or so, I've been turning it and just adding grass clippings. It's never gotten up to temperature. The highest reading I've gotten is, I think, just over 103, so it's not hot enough for our purposes, but we still want to reuse this soil. It's got our worm castings in it, it has worm cocoons in it, it's got a ton of beneficial biology that we've been building up. I give it compost tea once a week while it's sitting here. So we're also not really comfortable reusing it though until it gets up to temperature. We need it at 132 or higher for 15 days straight. And it's not been anywhere near that, so we wouldn't want to reuse this with our microgreens just for risk of pathogens building up. Although I'm sure it's perfectly safe, I'm still going to make sure it gets up to that 132 for 15 days at least. I'm shooting for a little bit higher with our aeration. I think we can get 140 plus for 15 days, but we'll see about that. So we're going to be adding a lot more soil than you would really want to in your compost. So this is going to hinder airflow. So we're going to go a little heavy on counteracting that with the bamboo tubes. So it's a little bit, you'll see me throwing material in there that's maybe too bulky, but it's to counteract how much tight material we're going to be putting in these compost bins. We really want this beautiful soil we've been working on and building for the last few months to get up to temperature and get nice. Be adding in a bale of straw. Straw is also very tubular. Tubes. Allows for a lot of good airflow. Breaks down to nothing. I know our worm compost has a lot of good cellulose enzymes that'll break this stuff down. Some of our green bamboo thrown on there. We're not packing it in tight. We want it to breathe well. We're building a fire. As we turn it, as we let the microbes do their thing, it'll pack down plenty. Get some of this bamboo upright in there, allow for more airflow. Make sure that nobody can fall on it like a jungle trap. Now we'd want to be adding a lot of biochar in normally as we go, but we unfortunately don't have any more made at the moment. So we'll keep, as we turn it, we'll keep throwing biochar in until we're about, I mean, I'm shooting for 50% by volume biochar with our compost. In your potting soil, you know, 5 to 10% is perfect. So I want people to be able to mix our compost in with, you know, 5 bags of soil, 10 bags of soil, and have it still be effective. And I've watched some videos of stuff growing awesome and up to like 80% biochar. So even if someone did want to grow right in the 50-50 mix, they could, and I think it would turn out well. I'm going to figure that out. We'll try it. Don't have any yet. we're going to add our soil in. If you're doing yard waste, now you would want to do another brown layer. So do your straw, then do more green yard waste, then do some more straw or your brown, so you could have, you know, mulched up leaves, yard waste that's dried out and you've mulched up, works perfect. I really like the straw because of how well it breathes. Just that tubular shape really helps bring that air up from the bottom tubes. So that's why I'm using straw. But it's a good option, not necessary. Feel free to use up your dried yard waste. Or if you're using food waste too, I'm going to be adding food waste in as well. Help get the temp up, increase the diversity. You can throw that on your green pile, then add the brown, then green. I like to build my layer cake with starting at the brown layer. So I think you want basically 2 parts brown for every 1 part green. That way if I start brown, green, brown, I'm always at 2 parts brown for every part green. Green's gonna increase your nitrogen content, it's gonna increase bacterial activity. If you're adding good browns in, that's gonna increase your fungal activity, which that's what you really want. The fungal dominant composts are going to really benefit the root zone more than a bacterially dominant compost. Mycorrhiza, for example, actually tunnels into the root zone, or the roots themselves, penetrates them, and forms a symbiotic relationship with your plant's roots, pulling water in from far distances, minerals from far distances. Whatever your plant needs, it can communicate through the mycorrhiza network. Helps to deal with stress like drought, extreme heat changes, like climate change, or not climate change, but like here in the Northeast, it's gonna be 60 one day, 95 another day. And that can really stress out a lot of plants. And the better your fungal network is, the better your plants can deal with those stressors. So always air a little more on the brown side, I think. As I was digging down into the dirt pile, I felt some serious heat coming off it, so I ran back to get a thermometer, and sure enough, I think we're up to 125, and that's without any of our compost building. That's just the dirt pile and some yard clippings, or grass clippings. So I think we'll have no issues getting this up to temp. Do another thin layer of brown, green, brown. Then I'll add my food waste in. If you haven't guessed it, brown, green, brown. More soil. Before we put the food waste in, I'm going to throw the door on so nothing falls out. Just nice to load it up with the front off for a while, or for as long as you can. We want to be protecting our backs, so the less throwing stuff over the top, the better. Now that our door's on too, I'm going to flatten this out a little bit, make a little bit of a crater for the food waste to go in. We want it really well protected from the exterior. Even though we have chicken wire, even though I'm going to have a chicken wire lid, I really don't want mice getting in here. So we want a big, thick, insulated layer of compost around our food. So I'm not layering in the food just like the green and the browns. It's really just going to have a few layers in the very center. We have some food waste. This is all good stuff. This is what we feed the worms. It's just been left out for a couple days too long for the worms, so this stuff's really perfect for your compost bin. The heat's kind of pre-broken it down a little bit, and the cool thing is about what we get from the spot is a lot of it's been blended and juiced, so it's very well broken down. So this will create some heat in the pile, give us some good bacterial microbes, and just be a good source of food for our plants down the line. Be careful about how much food scraps you leave laying around. The scavengers may not be able to detect the food that's in your compost bin because it's so well covered. They'll definitely detect what you leave laying around the compost bin, and that could alert them to your compost bin. So make sure you clean up your scraps afterward. Well, that's a nice, really thin layer of food waste on our pile to date, or up to now. So, more brown, green, brown soil. We'll start over again. Adding minerals as you go, as you layer, is a really good idea too. A lot of our deficiencies are simply related to mineral problems in our plants, as well as humans too. You'd be surprised what just mineral deficiencies would cause. But the reason why I'm not is I'm going to be pre-charging the biochar in a compost tea that's going to be loaded with minerals. I'm trying to save myself a step. But stuff like azomite, that has a ton of trace minerals. C90 has a ton of trace minerals, stuff like that. Bones are a great source of calcium, you know, crushed up bone meal. If you save your bones, you can, you know, kind of cook them up out in the sun or try to disinfect them in some way, cook them, boil them. Then you can go crush them up and put them in your compost for bone meal. Calcium's pretty important for your plants. You want as much calcium uptake as possible. So we want a mineral rich and a fungal rich compost. Once again, just a nice thin layer of food waste. It's an inch deep at its deepest anywhere in the box or in the bin. Anything more than that, you're probably asking for trouble with anaerobic bacteria. So thin is good. You want that airflow. And be cautious not to spread it out too close to the edge, like I have there, of your bin. We want it pretty well centered to keep rodents out, raccoons, stuff like that. I thought we had enough to fill up two. It looks like we're just doing one today. It was amazing how much stuff breaks down. Now tonight, or tomorrow night, it's looking like now by the sun, I'm going to give this a really, really good soaking of compost tea. And then we'll cover it with a couple layers of cardboard, just so it can still breathe. And then a layer of plastic to keep excess moisture out. If this gets saturated with rain, the temperature is probably just gonna drop. It may not. We got some pretty heavy rain on this 2 nights ago, and that was near 130. So I don't think we're gonna have any issues getting this up to heat, but we're still gonna take every precaution to give it the best environment possible. And so we'll do that with the compost tea, cardboard, and plastic. And eventually, hopefully sooner than later, I'll have one roof over all the compost, so we can not worry about it. But till then, just a piece of plastic over the top of it's good.